All right, so what I have here is I've got some HTML set up to create tabs. So it looks like this right now. It doesn't function, but you can see I have an unordered list with 3 list items in it. They have A tags inside that, and they each link to a hash. And that hash is associated to a div down here. So each of these divs have a matching hash. Well, they should. I apparently have a typo. So they should have a matching hash down here. A couple other things to note is the ones that aren't open right now have the attribute of hidden on them. And the first tab right here has the class of JS current. So in my CSS, I have the JS current has the background color of red to highlight it. And the hidden attribute isn't fully supported in all browsers. So I just put a display none on it right here so that it's definitely working everywhere. So this is our tabs. And I want to write JavaScript so that I can have as many tabs as I want and they all work perfectly. So I want to be able to have as many tabs inside of here as I want and as many panels inside of here as I want. So let's start with creating a variable reference to the tabs. So we'll go tabs. .tabs. So that's the UL like that. And we want it when we click on those A tags. So we'll go $tabs.onClick, and I'm going to use event delegation here. So specifically when I click on the A tags in there, I want to execute a function. Now I know those are A tags, so I'm going to prevent the default behavior from happening. Like that. So the A tags don't do what I generally expect them to do, which is link somewhere. And next up, I want to create a variable that gives me the ID. So I'll get the thing that was clicked on. Oh, I forgot an equals there. And I'll get its attribute, specifically its href attribute. So let's just do console.log ID. So we should have it now that when we click on any of these tabs, it will give us the ID of the thing that we want to select right here. So now let's create a variable here that holds all the panels. And if we look at our HTML, you can see they all have the class of panel on them. So we're going to go equals $.panel like that. So now that we have that, we can select the one in here that isn't currently hidden. So we're going to use a bunch of CSS selectors here to get this done. So we'll go console.log just so I can make sure I get the right one. And I'll go $panels.filter. And the filter jQuery function allows us to simplify this, to reduce it to a certain number, specifically using a CSS selector. So I want to use the not selector, and I specifically want to get the ones that are not hidden outside of that. So now when I click on these, you see that it always is showing me panel tab number 1, because that's the one that's currently not hidden. So I'm going to start here by selecting that panel. That's the one that I want, and I'm going to add an attribute onto it, which is hidden, like that. So I'll just set it to true. So now when I press these, you can see it disappears. So I'm getting rid of the hidden attribute from the one that is currently open. Now using the ID here, I can do $panels.filter. Actually, I could just simplify that to just $ID. So since this is an ID and it has the hash in it, I can just select that thing directly, and I can add the attribute, or remove the attribute actually. Remove attribute hidden from that tab. So here we go. So now when we click on tab 3 shows, and tab 2, and so on. So the only thing we have left to do now is just highlight the correct tab. So the first thing we need to do is find this specific HTML element here. It has the class of JS current. So in here, we have a class, or a variable called tabs, and tabs represents the UL. So I can actually do tabs.find here instead of filter, and we're going to use find instead of filter for a specific purpose. Now, panels represents 3 divs, and filter allows us to remove specific divs that we don't want. where tabs represents a UL, and we want to find a specific element inside it. So that is the thing that has the class of JSCurrent. So we want to find that inside it. After we've done that, we can remove the class from it, and we're removing the class of JSCurrent. So let's go refresh here. So when we click on tab 2, you can see the class of JSCurrent has been removed. All we need to do now is add it back onto the thing we clicked. So this is the actual A tag we clicked on. So then we can just add class JSCurrent onto it. And we should now have an active tab, just like that. So let's go through again quickly what's happening here. So we've got two variables, tabs, which represents the UL, and we have panels, which represents the 3 divs in the HTML. When we click on the tabs, we're delegating to the A tags specifically, because those are the things we want to click on. Since we're using A tags, we need to prevent them from being links like this. Next up, we grab the ID of the tab that's associated. So we have in the href here a hash that links down to the ID of a specific tab. So we're grabbing that information from the href attribute. Then using panels, which represents multiple divs, we filter it to only get the one that currently doesn't have the attribute of hidden. And then we add the attribute of hidden. So that hides the one that's currently open. Then on the one, then we select the one using an ID and we remove its hidden attribute. Afterwards, we find the current element inside of the UL that has the class of current, and then we remove it. And then we add the class of current onto the thing that we want. So this is a totally functional tabs example. It does have a few accessibility concerns, and if you'd like to see how those get fixed, check out the accessibility videos.